Morning, everyone. Hope everybody is doing well. All right. Just want to share from Daniel chapter 3. Daniel chapter 3, the harmless furnace. The harmless furnace. Then was Nebuchadnezzar full of fury, and the form of his visage was changed against Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Therefore he spake and commanded that they should heat the furnace 7 times more than it wont to be heated. And he commanded the most mighty men that were in his army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and to cast them into the burning fiery furnace. Then these 3 men were bound in their coats, their hosen, and their hats, and their other garments, and were cast into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. Therefore, because the king's command was urgent, and he was in a haste, and the furnace exceeding hot, the flame of the fire slew those men that took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. What the enemy meant for evil, God will turn it around for your good. And these 3 men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell down bound in the midst of the burning fiery furnace. Then Nebuchadnezzar the king was astonished, and rose up in haste, and spake, and said unto his counselors, Did we not cast 3 men bound into the midst of the fire? They answered and said unto the king, True, O king. He answered and said, Lo, I see 4 men loose, walking in the midst of the fire, and they have no hurt. And the form of the 4th is like the Son of God. Somebody's going to get a revelation of who Jesus is. Then Nebuchadnezzar came to the mouth of the burning fiery furnace, and spake and said, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, ye servants of the Most High God, come forth. This verse tells me that he was not at the mouth of the fire, when he got a revelation that he said he saw there's a 4th man. Right? It's in verse 26, it says, Then Nebuchadnezzar came near to the mouth of the burning fiery furnace, and spake and said, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, ye servants of the Most High God, come forth and come hither. Then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came forth of the midst of the fire. And the princes, governors, and captains, and the king's counselors being gathered together, saw these men upon whose body the fire had no power, nor was a hair on their head sing, neither was their coats changed, nor the smell of fire had passed on them. Amen. Let me read verse 28. Then Nebuchadnezzar spake and said, Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who had sent his angel and delivered his servants that trusted in him. Somebody needs to hear that God is about to send an angel for his servants that trust in him, and have changed the king's word. So not only did this king realize that there was a God, but he also changed the very command that he had issued. He said, and have changed the king's word, right? These boys, just by them not bowing down and worshiping the golden image, was able to change the king's word without even saying a word. These men said nothing. And a lot of times when we're going through our situations, we tend to talk back, and we get very defensive, as servants of God. But we saw here that these boys, they just said that we will not serve thy gods, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up. That's what they said in verses 18. That's all they said. But if it not, Be it known unto thee, O king, that we will not serve thy gods, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up. That's the only thing that they said. We didn't see any more record of when they were going, when they were being taken up to put into the fire. And now we see here in verse 28, it says, and delivered his servants that trusted in him. These boys trusted in God and yielded their bodies. They yielded their bodies that they might not serve nor worship any God except their own God. They yielded their bodies. They yielded their bodies, right? The fire that these boys were thrown into had no power over them. Had no power over them. And we need to get to that place as Christians where we said, listen, we will not worship your gods, nor will we worship the golden image which those are set up. And we will be put in the fire. We will come under attack. But we saw here that King Nebuchadnezzar, when he was not even near these boys, he said, did we not cast 3 men bound in the midst of the fire? They answered and said unto the king, true, O king. He got that revelation. He answered and said, lo, I see 4 men loose walking in the midst of the fire, and they have no hurt, and the form of the 4th is like the Son of God. Somebody's gonna get a revelation of who Jesus is. And even when that person get that revelation of who Jesus is, listen, their very words are going to change. The king's word had changed. The king's word had changed. And they said, and yielded their bodies that they might not serve nor worship any God except their own God. Right? And we have to get to that place where God is you are nothing, you know, and we will not take things from the enemy because we want to live, you know. But we saw here that these boys, you know, they were sold out for God. They were sold out for God. And after they made that remark in verse 18, they didn't have to speak again. Why? Because the very king that told them that they had to bow down and worship the golden image which he had set up, his very words changed. In verses 19, he said, the Bible said that when King Nebuchadnezzar, full of fury, and the form of his visage was changed against Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. But in verses 28, he says, and have changed the king's words. So his attitude towards these boys had changed. And I've been here where, you know, you have someone and their attitude towards you have changed. But as long as you say, God, listen, for you I live and for you I die, then you will have no reason, you know, to even rise up and fight for yourself when God is going to fight for you. And the Lord showed up in these boys' situation. He was right there in the midst. And somebody, you know what, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they already knew God, but this king did not know the God that they served. And he got a revelation of the God that they served. He says, did we not cast 3 men into the fire? Did we not cast them? Did we not treat them bad? Did we not say terrible things about them? Did we not do bad things towards these people? And a lot of times when we're going through our situations, you know, it can feel like a fiery furnace. You feel as if you're between a rock and a hard place, and you feel like you're not going to get out. But I want to tell you that this morning, that the very men that threw you into that fire, and the very men that cast you, the very mighty men that took you up and put you in there, they are going to be burnt by the very fire. right? And the head is going to get a revelation of who God is, just because you chose to worship God, right? And not bow down to their golden image. It says here, most likely the order for the furnace to be heated to 7 times its usual temperature implies that it is to be heated to its maximum heat. In this situation, having the men bound serves no good purpose other than the psychological strategy of removing control from them and preventing them from even minimally shielding themselves from the heat. Nebuchadnezzar is parodying his strength for all to see. He wants the totality of his power to be made known so that the 3 young men and everyone observing will know that he is the most powerful man here on earth. The punishment for Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego is intended to be severe. You know, when somebody trying to teach you a lesson, as is proven when a number of their captors die just from tossing the 3 into the flames. The judgment intended for the Hebrews fall instead of on some of Nebuchadnezzar's most valiant warriors. As for the 3 who have so deeply angered the king, they are about to be astonished. They are about to astonish him. Not only God preserves Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, he joins them in the furnace. Isn't that wonderful that your God, the God that you're gonna stand up for, he doesn't just leave you. He said that he's right there with them. Some people think that the 4th figure may be the pre-incarnate Christ. King Nebuchadnezzar can only speculate as to the 4th figure, calling him the Son of God. Amen. So that's just my short word for you today. The harmless furnace. It might seem hot, but it can't burn you. The fire has no power over you. The fire has no power over you. It's harmless. It's harmless. And you're about to get another experience of God. And somebody, that very person that put you in that furnace, is about to get a revelation of God. All right? So have a blessed day.